This episode is all about red flags. You need to know about these red flags. We're going to talk about red flags?
Absolutely, we're going to talk about red flags. I think we've all experienced red flags when interviewing for Scrum Master or product owner roles. To kick things off, what do you all think about when the people interviewing you are not in the Scrum roles, but they're in the product roles? What do you think that has to say?
I've had the opposite, where I'm interviewing for a product and it's not anybody that's ever done product or has any idea what product is.
Oof.
So I've had the opposite. I guess though, the answer to both is that clearly they don't have the right people interviewing. Either they don't have them on staff, and you're going to have a misalignment with what they're actually looking for and what they're interviewing for. So it's going to be a misalignment.
The other red flag for me is when you don't interview with any of your team members.
Yes.
For the teams you're about to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why is that?
The first thing that entered my mind is there's something wrong with the team, and they don't want the team members saying something out of turn.
That's what I thought too.
That's my first initial thought.
I thought they were trying to replace somebody.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought too. Is like somebody doesn't know they're leaving.
That. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
That's what I thought too.
Or it's a toxic team, or they're the toxic ones, and they don't want any kind of red flags getting out about, they want to keep everything's great here. So yeah, I would think that they're trying to hide something is where I would go with, if you're not able to talk to your team. From somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I perceived it as they being leadership, they didn't respect the team enough and give them enough power that they deserve. So they took it away.
That too.
And instead, in this case, gave all the power to the person who is interviewing you, which would be product leadership.
Yeah.
So to me, this was a clear indication that product runs things on this project.
Oh, well, you know what? The other thing that I have experienced when I was a product person on contract was the permanent employee product people, not the contract product people, had a budget, and the developers, QA people, whatever that made up their team, the product people's team for their product, came from that product budget. So you have like a P&L, right? So the product person is spending the money for the people. In that environment, the team members can give their input, but the product person is paying your salary out of their pool of money. So really what they say matters. And if they don't like you and they don't jive with you, they're going to cut you or they're going to not hire you. I guess the negative of that situation would be the product person is never going to hire someone who's going to challenge them.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah.
That's correct. Well, and it depends on the product person too. And they're hiring Scrum Masters. So that means they're the product manager and the product owner. Right. Or are they not Agile? Because it doesn't seem like that might be a tell that they're not really doing Scrum, or if they're having the product person do the interviewing. It just seems off. It seems like it should be a higher up, like somebody in the product management space.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're their first Scrum Master hire? What if they don't know what they're looking for because they've never had that position before? I've been on a team where the developers are like, hey, we generally understand the Scrum Master position is one that kind of drives around the organization and it kind of spreads agile practices and does all this, but like we're very busy with our development work and stuff like that. We know we're kind of shortcutting the role, and we know we could be doing extra stuff, and we know we could be doing a lot more, but we're all tight on time because we're doing development full time, and then we're trying to do this Scrum Master thing part time, and it's working okay. But maybe the developers have pushed management into saying, we want someone to do this job. Yeah. And I think of a company that has like 2 development teams that kind of pushes their management to be like, look, get somebody to do this full time.
Yeah.
Get somebody, talk to management, give them what they want, go to their meetings, and like relieve all of us of that burden. And somebody that likes to do that. Like when I had the podcast with Io, the thing about Io, I was like, I'm a people person. Back in the day when everyone worked in an office, and he's like, I don't mind spending my whole day getting a coffee and going from cube to cube and talking to people and telling them about what we're doing and showing them where our backlog is and what our roadmap looks like. He's like, I don't mind doing that. I like doing that. I was like, well, that's great that you like doing that, because other people don't.
Right.
They do not. So if you can find someone that really wants to do that, that could be a potential boon to your team. But again, like if you're hiring the first person, I mean, you're probably going to have like the manager of the development team or a tech lead or somebody in the C-suite that really they're kind of on the fence about like, oh, do we really need this? You can interview with a bunch of what on the outside looks like a strange grouping of people, you know?
Yes, I've had that. It just seems like I don't know. It just seems weird. Scrum Master is hired for a very, very specific role in a very specific type of company. And it just seems odd to have product be in place already. And then all of a sudden coming up with, let's get a Scrum Master. You would think that they would come in and try to get like an Agile coach or a coaching or something than them trying to come in and hire us. It just seems off to me.
I agree.
The start of my Agile journey was everyone worked for development. You know what I mean? And development designated product owners, and development designated who's going to be the Scrum Master this sprint, who's going to be playing the role.
But that seems more fitting that it would be somebody on the development side. The product still just doesn't make sense to me.
All right. So what I was saying is I inherited another team.
Okay.
And because I'm me, I immediately said to myself, I would like a Scrum Master to walk through and say like, hey, it's a new team. We could use Scrum, Kanban, doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to figure out like how much of the developer's time do I get? And I'll whatever we're using, whatever framework we're using around that, I can live with it, right? I can live with it.
That's how I am as a product person. Right. I'm methodology agnostic.
I was trying to not use the word agnostic.
Loved it. Oh
Did you like the word agnostic?
Methodology agnostic. That was amazing. That was fantastic.
Oh, well, because I went into the job that I have now thinking, going in, I'm gonna set up Scrum. We're gonna do Scrum. Well, I have not just one team of developers. I have 5 teams, all doing different things. They're small. They all interact with each other, and the hardware part of it really threw me for a loop. I've worked just strictly in software, and when you add devices in, and that whole problem of long-term stuff, it makes it a lot harder. And we're doing Agile. We're doing 2-week sprints. We do planning. We just don't do the other thing. Don't have the retrospective. And although not saying that it's not appropriate, but I think it depends.
Well, I started going down that rabbit hole because I was talking to my new team members, and so I was like, we can do Kanban and we can work under that methodology. Someone's going to yell at me on the internet. But in order to do that, we have to have some things in place to make our lives easier. Because also on the other side of that, like I, as a product person, am going to take that backlog and try to communicate to leadership of like, hey, we're X amount of time out from doing X, Y, Z or whatever. Like the team doesn't have to do that. I have to do that. So what I told the team was, hey, if you guys want to use Scrum and I'll block and tackle every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever our cadence is, cool, I'll do that for you. However, like there are things I need. You have to tick the boxes of the things that I need in product first before we can optimize for whatever you want. I know we're kind of like way off the track of red flags. We're kind of way off the track of red flags right now. But honestly, are we? Because if you start asking like, hey, Jessica, welcome to the team. We want you to be our Scrum Master, and then you start asking like, when do you do refinements? Are you doing Scrum? What have you? Oh no, we're not doing Scrum because we figured out that like Scrum is too it's too strict for what we do. We need a little bit. We need to be able to change course a lot quicker. We use Kanban for our teams, and then you'll say, cool, you use Kanban for your teams. What's the cycle that you refresh your backlog? How do you do refinement to get stuff in order? And if they don't have an answer to that, if they're like, we just, whenever people ask for stuff, we send it to our lead developer, and he tells the developers to work on things. Like that's a giant red flag right there of like, whoa, they may not have a process at all.
But is that a red flag to show, ooh, this isn't a job I want? Or is it a red flag to say, all right, this is an anti-pattern. I know I'm diagnosing here, and I know what I would work on if I got this job.
That's a good question. If through your interview process, you get to the end and the recruiter's like, Jessica, we love you. You work great. Everybody that talks to you thinks you're the best. And at the end of the interview process, you can say, actually, everybody kept telling me that developer Bob does all of the prioritization and developer Bob does all of the work distribution, whatever. Could I interview with developer Bob? Could I talk to him before I accept or not accept the job? So like there's a point in that where you're putting the recruiter, assuming your recruiter is not just a headhunter that's external and doesn't really care if you say yes or no. If you can put the internal HR people to work and have them like, hey, I would really like to interview with this other person in your company that I've been hearing about, like that's great.
Yeah, I mean, back to the subject of who is interviewing you as being a red flag. I want that diversity. I want those different perspectives. I want to hear from the Scrum team, from the developers, from the testers, from the team, absolutely. Because in the hypothetical situation that I said earlier, where product and product leadership was exclusively providing the interviews for the Scrum role, I only get the product perspective.
They're gatekeeping everything else. They really are.
Gatekeeping, right. And us in our role, we're diagnosing immediately, right? We're trying to identify the anti-patterns within this project because, one, we want to display that we know what we would implement and where to start, right? We already have our backlog of anti-patterns and processes we want to implement even before we get started. So yeah, having that diversity and who's interviewing is so beneficial in that way too. And I love his perspective of just ask the interviewer. I want to interview with him, right?
And also ask the recruiter, if you are working with, who am I going to be interviewing with? How many people, which is always an important question because red flags abound when it's like 6, 7, 8 people. So who am I interviewing with? How many people am I interviewing with? Those are questions that you should, before you even say yes.
Yes, I think we beat a dead horse on the first topic of who is interviewing you. It's very important to, ask for diversity if it doesn't exist. And also, like you mentioned, get with a recruiter, ask who you're interviewing with, how many interviews. I love that. I've never done that, and that's so simple. Right?
Well, a good recruiter will tell you before you have to ask, but that's
true. I've never got that. And then for you mentioned that you would be bold enough to say, I want to talk to this person. Can we set up an interview with them?
Also, if you're not interviewing with the team or teams that you're going to be working with, I mean, you do have to push a little to be like, hey, why am I not interviewing? Like, I mean, that in and of itself could be a red flag of like, why am I not interviewing with the teams I'm working with? That's weird. That's super weird.
Absolutely.
Because they're worthy of sharing their perspective. So is it an indication that leadership does not see their perspective as worthy? Maybe.
That's a question.
And that's a red flag, right? So who you're interviewing with is a big deal. Second one, who you're interviewing with, do they appear like they're burned out? I'm telling you, I've been in interviews where people look completely energetically drained. They were done with the day. They even verbalized to me, right, I'm exhausted. It's back-to-back meetings. So they're already communicating the culture that I could anticipate if I worked there.
And you need to listen.
Right.
That's the thing, is a lot of people notice these things, make note of it, and then take the job anyway because they're scared or they feel like this is the only option. I'm not going to get anything else. And then they're exactly where they thought they were going to be.
Hating their life.
Exactly. Saying, I knew this was it. I'm burnt out. Now you're the person interviewing that's exhausted. It's just it's a vicious cycle.
Absolutely. Clear indication of a culture you probably don't want to participate in.
Exactly. It's enough to be able to, knowing the red flags is one thing. It's being able to turn down a really good offer. That's completely separate.
Do you mean money? Is that what we're talking about now?
Turning it down.
Is it? Oh man. So the other categories I have on here are metrics. So I have metrics for product and I have metrics for process.
I ask that too.
I have a separation of the categories between process and product. We already kind of hammered at this earlier. If you're working for a company that maybe doesn't have Scrum Masters, doesn't have Agile coaches, so you don't really have anything wrapped around the process. Like you don't have employees that they're empowered to deal with the process. So if you don't have that, they're going to ask you for these questions in product, and especially they're going to ask you if you fall into what I said real early in the podcast, where it's like you've got the budget, and it's like you know what I mean. Like this is like the more I talk about it, the more it breaks down, and it sounds terrible. But the point being, the company without a lot of process is going to look to you as a product person and be like, is this worth our money to be paying for whatever? And you're going to have to answer those questions.
Absolutely. I think that at least in startup world, technology startup world, the CEO plays the product person for a very long time.
Sure, yeah.
And by the time the product person, in my experience, by the time the product person is pulled into it, the engineers have been working for a year, 2 years, maybe even more, with no process, because they're not going to be developing their own process. They're churning out MVPs or whatever. They're a feature factory in the beginning, right? Trying to get everything out. And then the first hire usually isn't a Scrum Master, because they don't even know what they want to do yet. The first hire is product. And then it starts to trickle down. And so you're absolutely right. I think that the product person has a tremendous amount of say in the process and setting some of the process up, including the feedback loop and possibly the entire Agile process, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool if it's you and I, because we've both
been
Scrum Masters before, yeah. But the concern of that one is you get someone who they don't have a background in organizing teams. They don't have a background in what it takes to grow teams. You know what I mean? They don't know anything about Dunbar's number. They don't know anything about forming, storming, or and they don't know anything about that kind of stuff. And also, like, they're too busy to care about that. Like, that's what I'm saying, Jessica. We're too busy to learn. We're too busy to take time to learn things. I guess if I'm trying to come to a company as a product manager and I'm going through the interview, I'm going to ask about process metrics. Like, I want to know if the leadership wants to know my team's velocity every sprint. Like, I'm going to vet that out. As a product manager, I'm going to vet that out in the interview process.
Why is that important to you?
Because I want to know if the leadership is paying attention to things that are not important. I, as a product manager, may have very little say over swaying their opinion. And I want to know that before I go through the interview process.
What if they say, we don't even know what you're talking about?
Oh, then we don't have to worry about velocity. Then I'll never speak of velocity again. And I will tell them we'll never speak of this topic again.
Wait, so you're not a fan of velocity?
I am a fan of velocity.
But?
When you can use the number for the development team and then not use the number for anything else. When I close a sprint in Jira Automation fires a report, and it sends a report that says, here's the stories that were done in the current sprint that are done. So I can kind of like, to leadership, I can socialize them. So the report basically says, show me all of the work items that are done and give me a report of all of them, and then show me their business value. And I show business value and I don't show story points. I exclude story points from that report that goes to leadership. I do that because, like, the business value, the leadership should be able to look down the list of business value and say, oh, that's a business value of 5 on a 1 to 5. That means that's very important for our customers and stakeholders, this new feature. I should ask questions and understand what that means and understand how it works. If sales sees that report, oh, what is that? Business value 5, very important. Business value 4, pretty important, you know. Business value 1, it's good. You know what I mean? It'll add value, but
probably quick.
I mean,
quick and dirty.
Yeah, quick feature, you know what I mean? Make something available. From the title, you should be able to tell what it is, right? But the story points on each item, like, doesn't mean anything. Like, because story points on each item are unique to the team that they came from, when I start scaling that and sending it out at a leadership level, so leadership level meaning they're over multiple teams. They could be over 5, 7, 10 teams. That velocity number means nothing at that point. Whereas business value means something. Like, I can get together with all of my peers who are product managers and decide on the scale of business value between 1 through 5. Between a small group, a community of practice, we can decide what the scale of the business value means to the impact to the end user, when we can choose what it is. Whereas story points, it's only useful for the team for the purpose of forecasting work for the future. for that specific team. So for that reason, I don't show it to anybody outside of just the team. Again, coming at it from a product management perspective, I'm not even representing that number because that number is not useful to me or leadership. That number is only useful to the team. It's only useful to me serving in my product owner capacity of product management. So meaning working for the team. Mm-hmm. Where if somebody outside the team asks me, when's XYZ going to be done? I can pull up the backlog, look at the capacity, know from that team's historical, and tell them, oh, it's going to be done within the next 2 to 4 weeks or whatever.
How do you showcase business value?
What I'm going to do, again, at the place I'm at, there was no process. I'm the first product person. It was really the Wild West. It's a different company. It's hardware and software. It's IoT. It's in a space that is enterprise companies, but oil and gas. So it's definitely a completely different type of company than I've ever worked for. So yeah, it's a startup, but you're working with enterprise companies, and we all know exactly how that feels. What is nice about startups is you can choose your own tools usually when you come in. What do you need? What do you want to work with? Yeah. So I did some research, and I decided on Product Board, and that has a piece to it where the customer insights or insights coming in from anywhere, you can set up drivers, business value being one, effort, and anything that you want. Impact for us, because we're trying to help the environment, reduce emissions. Impact, because we get funding from people that they don't care about money and revenue. They care about the impact to the environment. Right. What are we doing to cut emissions? How is that going to be directly related, that piece of work? So all of those things that I'm going to come up with my boss and the CEO, what do we care about? And I'll plug all that into Product Board. And from my understanding, it's once I get there, it really helps raise the ones right up to the top. I mean, it's supposed to be a no-brainer. And then, of course, you'll still negotiate depending on, they won't like the black and white, because now it's like, well, I think this is the most important thing. Well, is it though? So it'll be very, very nice to have at least metrics. Look, you don't always have to use them, but you have them, and that's what metrics are great for. It's like, that really isn't the most important thing, and here's why, because of the things that you said were important. Doesn't rise to the top. So that's how I'm going to deal with business value in next year, early quarter one, when I get it set up.
That's awesome. Your job sounds really cool, by the way.
I'm very, very happy.
Ooh, that brings me into the next interview red flag, which is actually no passion for project. So as I mentioned, people who were interviewing me were on the product side. In this case, they were passionate about the product, right? So that was a good sign. That was actually a green flag. But I can tell you, I've interviewed with other people, and even the product owners weren't interested in the product itself. There was no passion there, right? So to me, that's was a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to have passion.
Oh boy, like you should stop the interview and call them out right there, just because because at some point, let's assume that you're not in the position where you're like, you need a job, like you got to pay the bill, like you're stressed or whatever.
This is just somebody looking for a job, their next move.
Yeah, you should call them out at that point. I feel, to be like, you sound like you're really stressed. Okay, how could me joining your team bring down your stress level? And let them kind of think through that. There's a few people I have in mind for the podcast on active listening, like actual active listening, like people that are like really good on like asking questions and kind of sitting on your answer and just being quiet until you give your, like, I'm not that person. Yeah, I'm not that person.
Like teachers.
Yeah. Yes.
They have to hold. You got to give 5 seconds.
Yeah. Like
skill and patience.
It is.
I'm not that person. I know that's not my personality. But I really would like to have a person like that on the podcast just to talk through it. Like, I feel this is the same category. Why have you lost your passion for this industry?
Yeah.
Tell me about your problems. Like, step into my office.
Yeah.
You'd probably throw them off.
Oh,
because they probably don't even realize they're coming across that way.
They're too busy.
They're too busy, and the job you're interviewing for is probably so needed and probably needed a year ago.
Right.
And that's why they feel like that. That's why they look like that. I can say from my own experience just recently, the last person we hired, one of the reasons why, and this is what the recruiter said, because it does make a difference, that he wasn't sure that he wanted to continue interviewing because of where we were at in the industry. But my passion for the job and the product, and just because granted, I'm new. Check back in 2 years, you can hold on to passion a lot more when you're new, because you don't know the ins and outs and you haven't been there and dealing with the same people. But it made a difference in him. He was looking for that. He wanted somebody passionate, and consequently, he did take the job. So it goes both ways. You can really ruin somebody's entire wanting to work and have that position because of how you're coming across.
Sure, absolutely.
Plus, how boring to work with somebody that has zero passion.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's draining to work with somebody that is down in the dumps, or it really, really is.
Of course it is. And as a product person, they're the ambassador
Yes.
of the product.
If they're not behind it.
They gotta make it sound cool.
Well, you make a good point. I am the person in the room that has the most energy for the topic. So I could only imagine if I'm I said this like 2 podcasts ago, 3 podcasts ago, 8 podcasts ago. I don't remember. I was like, product manager. I was like, but the term really is product leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. That's the point of your job, right? Yep. Now, your idea is like you own the product, like own.
CEO.
Air quotes. Own, CEO. Like, don't get me started. Like,
I hate that.
Quick, let me cut to the wide angle so you can get all of our reactions together. Like, yeah, you're the CEO of the product, except you can't hire and fire anyone. You can't hire and fire any people or customers, and you don't have control over budgets. And oh my God.
But you're the CEO.
Yeah, but you're the CEO. You're the person that answers the why for everything. Everyone's looking to you for a vision for the future of the product. So if you're the person that's kind of like, you're just punching the clock and you're burnt out, like that's real bad. If I was coming on as a product owner / manager underneath like a group product manager or director of product or somebody like that, and this person was like that,
I wouldn't take the job.
You got to vet that out in the interview. You got to know. Or a Scrum Master. Even worse, if you're a Scrum Master coming on, you got to vet that out in the interview.
No.
But what if they throw a bunch of money at you?
We're back to that question again.
Right.
Money does not buy work happiness.
Oh, for sure.
How much money are we talking about?
It doesn't matter. There's no amount of money that I would take to work at a job that was toxic.
Well, okay, so let's wrap up the interview red flags. So I was in an interview and they said, we're about a 60% agile here. The biggest thing you're going to have to do is convince leadership that we should do this whole agile thing.
No.
Yep.
No.
Interesting.
So I'm like, all right, so they already don't have leadership buy-in. And so I would be coming in
The first Scrum
role.
Master?
Potentially.
Yes.
Yeah, coming into this role, being super disruptive, combative with leadership off the bat, right? Here's why this is important.
My first reaction to this is you're getting hired to fight for your job.
Yeah.
You're getting hired to petition for you to continue having your job.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. I got hired. I'm a Scrum Master, and they will make the decision based on whether they like you or not. Not if they listen to what you have to say. I mean, if they're on the fence, they need to make the decision before they hire a Scrum Master. I think that's putting the cart before the horse and setting you up for failure 100%. Decide that you want to do Scrum, get everybody backing it, then hire a Scrum Master. They're hiring you to fight a battle that they can't win. What makes you think that you can win?
You're like, one of our product people went to this whole Scrum training thing. They think it's a good idea.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You know, we pitched for the Scrum Master role, but you guys, you're going to have to do a lot to get us started.
I mean, oh boy. Who is sponsoring Agile at your company matters a lot. Is it like one development team that is like, we don't want to write documentation anymore, so we're Agile now? Like they're probably going to come across, as crazy as it sounds when I say it, they're going to come across the leadership that like that. Even in larger companies, you could have in larger companies it wouldn't be an executive, it'd be like a director of a area
VP.
or what, VP, one of VP or whatever, to be like, oh, we got to implement this agile stuff. But even them, if they're like one of like 50 VPs, they're just another VP raving about some program they want to implement. So like the leadership is just another VP raving about what they want to spend money on at that point. So you're not really bringing anything that seems to be selling to the quote leadership. That's a real tough sell. Who is sponsoring quote Agile at your company makes a huge difference.
Sure.
A huge difference.
Yeah.
Also, we didn't.
And what influence they have, like you said.
Also put into this category, Tricia, you were talking about hardware as well. Hardware is doing agile development on hard mode, because I did that when I was in logistics. Like we had to do software development to work on, the government came out with a mandate for truck drivers to plug in the little ELD device into their truck, and it phone homed via cellular network via the little hardware device that they plug into their truck. But we had software that we wrote that worked with the hardware device, so you have to launch the hardware device at the same time you launch the software.
Yep.
So in that case, you're doubling your chance of failure, in that the hardware may not be up to spec and may not hit the deadline you originally want, but also the software has to be as good as it can be by whatever date the hardware launches, because you have to send it to a manufacturer, right? And there's deals and contracts and et cetera, that need to happen to get the hardware out, right? And then boxes and artwork and shipping and all that kind of stuff, like all the kind of stuff that like normally. I like this topic for the podcast because both of the people that might listen to this podcast, they may not have encountered in their career a situation where they have real deadlines and deliverables.
Correct.
Real, meaning like you sent stuff to the printers, or you sent stuff to whatever offshore manufacturing or whatever, and your software has to be done to go along to accompany the hardware.
It definitely is a different beast, but it's an interesting one that it just taught me the other side. I mean, Scrum has been shoved down my throat for many years.
Sure.
And just seeing how you can be agile without the Scrum piece of it is nice to learn how to do, and to understand that not every company has to do Scrum, a specific one.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think Scrum is for everyone. I'll argue this. I mean, obviously, as a Scrum Master, that's my expertise. Right. But I remember hearing from one of my Agile coaches, if the environment is very simplistic, not overly complex, Scrum isn't maybe needed. Maybe that's not the methodology for them, and that's okay.
Or the other way, it's complex.
Yeah.
You're more middle of the road.
This is the point in the podcast where I wish Owen was here, where he can tell me like, hey, what is a traditional project management mechanism for this?
Right.
Of like, I've got software I'm trying to line up, and I've got hardware requirements I'm trying to line up. When do we align and then send to everyone else? The software equivalent of this, I think of, is like my team is knocking out requirements and sending stuff to the stage environment, but then I'm waiting to push the button to send to release to production environment until I gain enough features successfully to where I can say like, this is enough, send it to the printing presses or whatever, the hardware people or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But like, to me, it just all seems like the shell game of like, when enough features are done, send to somebody else. I guess what I'm saying is all the bureaucracy put in place by like typical project management and like another layer of bureaucracy and portfolio management, all these other disciplines you see, it doesn't seem that difficult. I don't know. I'm willing to be completely wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm doing it by myself right now. And I'm making progress. So
Yeah, you are.
I don't have a portfolio manager or a Scrum Master.
You are the portfolio manager.
I am. I'm the portfolio. I'm the program. I'm the Scrum. I'm the product owner. I'm the product manager.
I think what you're saying is you are just amazing, and
Right?
everyone else should just
Army
come up
knife.
to your level. I think
That's
so.
exactly right.
Last thing
Yeah.
was red flag, and we can summarize and wrap up. I had disruptor or agreeable people pleaser. Now, I've been in interviews where I asked a lot of questions and it was evident to me that they did not appreciate the questions, right?
Oh.
So sometimes I think places are hiring for an agreeable people pleaser who can be their Jira admin, who can provide them with the metrics, who can track the team, but who is not designed to be a disruptor.
Then that is not a Scrum Master.
That's not a Scrum Master. What would you call it?
Project manager.
Yeah, sure.
Just a general project
Yeah.
manager.
Yeah.
Because project managers don't disrupt anything. They manage the project. They manage what's coming in, making sure that things are all aligning. They're not saying you're doing that wrong or that's not the process. They're just making sure that everything is coming together, like cooking.
Right.
Like cooking a giant Thanksgiving meal. They're the ones just making sure that you got the potatoes in at the right time and stuff. They're not looking to disrupt anything. They're just looking to get the project done.
Right.
It's completely different than a Scrum Master who's looking to disrupt and
Yes.
change things and make things agile and streamlined and quick. So yeah, they're going to end up hiring again. They're misaligning and they're going to hire the wrong person.
Yeah.
Which is why you need to be in front of that, or Scrum Masters need to be in front of that and realizing that right away and saying, I'm not interested in that role.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's a clear indication that they probably don't understand the Scrum Master role enough.
Yep.
Maybe they think it's like a trendy buzzword to use, but in actuality, they're looking for a project manager. They want someone that they can control in
Yes.
a corporate environment.
That's right.
Right? That's not a challenger, that they can get predictable outcome from them. And that's it.
Yes. Are we red, green, or yellow?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not even a project manager.
What would you call it?
I don't know what I would call it, but I think of the best project managers that I've worked with. And they go around the organization and they try to delegate responsibility to people or delegate risk. Ohm and I had a podcast to talk about this, like delegating the job of the typical project manager is to run around the organization delegating risk off to people so that when risk explodes on the business, it's not the project manager's fault. It's somebody else's fault in the organization.
They're like picking out their scapegoat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's the
wonderful.
point. I own no developers. I own no budget. I own no teams. I own no directors or managers or whatever. I own none of that. I literally delegate all of the risk out to other people and all the responsibility out to other people. Red flag.
Red flag, absolutely. Let's wrap this up by talking about just a summary. Interview red flags for Scrum Master roles. Who are you interviewing with? Very important.
Yes, that was
You want
important.
diversity there. 2, burnout. If you're seeing who the people who are interviewing you, if they're burned out, energetically depleted, red flag right there.
Yes.
Yep.
Next one, no passion for the project. They're just there for a paycheck.
Checking boxes. Yeah, checking boxes. Right.
That's it. And then last one we talked about was disruptor versus agreeable people pleaser. They are not looking for a challenger. They just want the Jira admin project manager.
There's a whole podcast to be done just on that one.
Yeah.
Like I'll save all that for later. Like the people pleaser one, because like I feel there are companies that specifically seek those type of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And only hire them.
And there's
Heck yeah.
and that it fits. Like, you know, there are people out there that they don't want to disrupt. They just want to go in, they want to do their job, check boxes, and go
course.
home. They don't want to argue, they don't want to fight, they don't want to make big changes, they just want to do their job. So it fits. You just don't want to be caught in the crossfire of that. If you want to be a disruptor, then you have to find a company that wants that.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I want to put a little segue in here for the next podcast idea, which is right there. The Agile professional who becomes indifferent. They're the ones who were the hardcore disruptors who went in there not with the checklist, but wanting to change things and make a big difference. And because they consistently failed in their ventures, they become indifferent. All right, viewers, if you know any interview red flags that you've experienced on your Scrum Master interviews, please share in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.